Welcome to Vintage SF. I'm Richard Rempel. Today we're going to look at a non-fiction book, Astounding by Alec, Nevala-Lee, copyright 2018. This is the story of the Astounding magazine, but is also the story or four biographies of John W. Campbell, editor of Astounding, Isaac Asimov, Robert A. Heinlein, and L. Hubbard, and also a host of other Golden Age science fiction authors and characters. On the back of the cover, we have this capsulation sentence: a landmark account of the extraordinary partnership between four controversial writers, John W. Campbell, Isaac Asimov, Robert A. Heinlein, and L. Hubbard, who set off a revolution in science fiction and forever changed our world. I also want to highlight a couple reviews. Astounding is a laser-sharp study of science fiction's golden age, the product of a small circle of writers and their guiding editor. Nevala-Lee's warts-and-all look is a welcome contribution to the study of popular literature. Kirkus Reviews. A thoroughgoing scholarly effort. A chatty, slightly gossipy, popular biography. Nevala-Lee approaches the four subjects with a full understanding of their status and importance, but treats them as human beings with their own constellations of talents and flaws. You don't want to miss this one. Analog, science fiction, and fact. What is interesting about that last review blurb is that it comes from Analog magazine. Astounding was renamed Analog in the 1960s by John W. Campbell. This name change reflected John W. Campbell's desire to change science fiction from a literature of escapism into a machine for generating analogies, which is why he renamed it Analog. Analogies, analog. So the review blurb from Analog is commenting on its own history. Astounding magazine's first issue was published in January of 1930. Near the end of 1937, John W. Campbell became its editor, and he would continue as editor until his death in 1971. The central period of his editorship became known as the Golden Age of Science Fiction. By the way, when we refer to the Golden Age of Science Fiction, one fan famously observed, "The real Golden Age of Science Fiction is 12. In the July 1939 issue of Astounding, the lead story was Black Destroyer, a first sale by an author named A.E. Van Vogt. There was also another story in that issue, Trends, by a young Isaac Asimov in his first sale to Astounding magazine. Later, fans and historians would claim this magazine, the July 1939 issue, to be the start of the Golden Age. Robert A. Heinlein and L. Hubbard soon joined Van Vogt and Asimov in a stable of writers for John W. Campbell's Astounding magazine. Titles such as Slan by A.E. Van Vogt and The Foundation Stories by Isaac Asimov were some of the early important Golden Age stories. Here we see a young John W. Campbell circa 1928. He took over editorship of the Astounding magazine in 1937. Here is Robert A. Heinlein, 1929. Heinlein had a strong sense of duty. We see this in World War II as well, and I think you can also see it in Starship Troopers. The Futurians were a fan club in New York City. There are some well-known people in science fiction that came from this club. Here we have a picture from 1939. In the middle of the front row, you will see Isaac Asimov. To the right of Isaac Asimov, in front of a person with a white shirt, you will see Donald Wollheim. You may know Donald A. Wollheim as the man behind DAW, D-A-W books. Donald A. Wollheim. In the second row, without a coat, in the white shirt, you see Frederick Pohl. And in the back row, on the left side, Cyril Kornbluth. World War II features prominently in this book. The conflict and the exploding of the atom bomb changed these writers and science fiction We now had the means to destroy ourselves. Here you see L. Sprague de Camp, Isaac Asimov, and Robert A. Heinlein. L. Ron Hubbard in Los Angeles, 1950. This was the time that Dianetics and Scientology was born. Dianetics had a big impact on John W. Campbell. Psionics, or psi powers, came to be very important to him. Campbell wanted to promote the study of the brain and the study of powers that the brain could have. It influenced the type of stories and the type of authors who worked in Astounding in the 1950s. Astounding is an easy-to-read account of the start of the Golden Age. It spans the early years of science fiction all the way up to John W. Campbell's death in 1971. An epilogue concludes some of the other authors' stories. This is a well-researched book. We have over 80 pages of notes, then a bibliography, and an index. I was fascinated by the history and the biographies. It gave me a framework to understand some of the most important authors from the Golden Age. It also showed how John W. Campbell molded authors and their stories into his picture for science fiction. For any fan wanting to learn more about the Golden Age, this may be the book for you to read. I know this will be a reference book for me in the future. Nevala-Lee is not shy about looking at each person's foibles as well. When talking about L. Ron Hubbard, we get a short history of Dianetics and Scientology and its impact on John W. Campbell and other writers in science fiction. We also learn about the clay feet of our heroes in science fiction. At times, I felt that Nevala-Lee was getting a little salacious with his details about the foibles of these writers, but that's a minor complaint compared to all the history in this book. Nevala-Lee is a great storyteller. At 400 pages, this was still a fast read. I recommend it for anyone who would like to learn more about the Golden Age. I give Astounding 8 out of 10. Recommended. Have you read Astounding? What are your thoughts on how Nevala-Lee handled the biographies? How important was the Golden Age to scientists, philosophers, and others in our society? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep reading.